Shalom, I am Rabbi Michael Panitz, and I'm speaking to you from the pulpit of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia. Today is February 3rd, 2021, and I'll be speaking with you on the subject of parents, children, and our survival as a civilized society. Yesterday, President Biden signed an executive order creating a task force to reunite children who were separated from their parents with those parents, separated under the previous administration's so-called zero tolerance policy. I would like to share with you my analysis of this news of the day from a Jewish perspective. This week we're reading the famous Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments passage, Exodus chapter 20. People brandish these divine utterances as if they were weapons in the culture wars of our day. And yet, I seriously doubt if many of those making the 10 Commandments a banner under which to march into conflict have pondered all the nuances of the wording of those immortal statements. Consider with me the commandment to honor one's father and mother. Alone of the set of 10 divine utterances, this one announces a reward for its observance. Lema'an ta'arichun yamecha al ha'adama. In order that you may long endure on the land that the Lord your God is assigning to you. Many readers think that this pledge of longevity is meant as a personal reward for fulfilling the commandment of filial piety. Honor your father and your mother, and you will live a long life. According to Rabbi Akiva, one of the great rabbis of our formative period, this is a dangerous mistake. The Talmud tells a tragic story of a boy who was obeying his father's instructions to climb a tree in order to harvest some eggs from a bird's nest. Now consider that driving away the mother bird so that it won't see you taking the eggs and honoring your mother and father are the two commandments in the Bible for which it says, Lema'an ya'arichun yamecha, that thy days may be prolonged. Tragically, in the story, the boy falls from the tree and dies. Rabbi Akiva and his colleague, Rabbi Elisha ben Abuya, were witnesses to that tragedy. Rabbi Elisha cried out, Leit din v'leit dayan. There is no justice and there is no judge. He lost his faith forever. The rest of his existence was accursed. Rabbi Akiva vainly tried to explain to his colleague that the phrase long endure in the land does not refer to personal longevity, but rather to a more far-reaching goal. Rabbi Akiva was correct. Our reward for establishing a society where parents enjoy their children's respect is not measured in individual lives. It is measured in the overall health of society. We see, therefore, that the commandment applies not only to a child's or adult child's relations to his own parents or her own parents, since at the deepest level it is about society. All of us are subject to the commandment. beyond honoring our own biological or adoptive parents in life and preserving their memory piously after their death, we also have an obligation to foster a society in which the family is a strong ethical cell. The tissue of society will be healthy when its cells are healthy. And yet, in 2018, our United States of America committed itself to disrespecting the bond of parents and children. We decided that we would inflict the pain of separating children from their parents as a disincentive to unwanted immigration. We made it impossible for hundreds, perhaps thousands, of children to remain in close contact with their parents. We as a nation were responsible for a massive disobedience of that commandment. How some of the Americans who supported that double dose of cruelty to the parents and cruelty to the children, how some Americans could rationalize it as consistent with their religious perspectives is beyond me. But then again, people have found ways to square many bad things with their religious understandings. It shows you that even those who profess total piety are quite capable of cherry-picking their religion so that it agrees with their secular political goals and even, sadly, with their prejudices. The policy in 2018 occasioned much opposition, but the administration of the day dragged its feet on reversing the damage it had done. Consequently, even today, the pain continues. Hence, the new administration's task force. It faces a daunting task because in the previous administration's zeal to protect our borders, it violated the basic constraints of morality. We may disagree about immigration policy in general. I'm not speaking about that in this instance. I'm talking about what measures ought to be beyond the pale of a civilized society. Separating children from their parents, as we did, is an unworthy means, whether or not the end of controlling immigration is worthy. When our government orders that, it tells us that our moral compass is seriously impaired. I was ashamed of many of the decisions taken by our government in recent years, but the decision to rip children from their parents was very close to the worst action that we took as a nation. I'm especially ashamed as an American of that. And so I applaud this week's executive order, although I fear that some of the damage will prove to be permanent, and that will remain a blot on our moral standing for an entire generation. Let the words of the commandment continue to ring in our hearts, that you long endure on the land. Do we want to endure as a democracy? Do we want to endure as a place of civil rights and of humane societal values? Then we have to decide what means in pursuit of political goals are unthinkable. We have to remember that the golden rule goes beyond the members of our charmed circle. We have to remember the lesson taught by our biblical prophets that God judges us based on how we treat fellow humans. Will we long endure? Only if we continue the work of repentance that begins this week. Shabbat Shalom.